Forget everything you think you know about Brainiac, seriously. The green-skinned tyrant, the cold Kryptonian AI, the skull-faced android. They're all just copies. They are shadows thrown by a much older and frankly much more terrifying entity. For decades, we thought we understood Superman's smartest foe. But a horrifying new revelation has crawled out of the darkest corner of the DC universe. It suggests that Brainiac was never really created. He has, in a way, always been. Today, we re-digging into the heart of a cosmic horror story to uncover the shocking truth about the first Brainiac, its primordial force that stands as the most powerful and twisted version of the character ever imagined. This isn't just the story of a supervillain. This is the story of an ancient cosmic evil that is only now showing its true face. To get how terrifying Brainiac has become, you have to appreciate who he used to be. When writer Otto Binder and artist Al Plastino first introduced him back in Action Comics number 242 in 1958, the concept was chillingly simple. Brainiac was a bald, green-skinned alien from the planet Colu, who zipped around the cosmos in a skull-shaped ship, shrinking and bottling entire cities. His initial goal was to use these stolen civilizations to repopulate his own planet, which had been wiped out by a plague. It was a twisted form of preservation, but you could almost see the logic. But the real threat was always his mind. Across almost every version, Brainiac is defined by his staggering 12th-level intellect. To put that in perspective, the entire population of 20th century Earth combined is considered a 6th-level intelligence. He is a supergenius by every definition of the word, capable of thinking on a level that's almost incomprehensible. Over the decades, his body changed as much as his backstory. In the 1960s, it was revealed the green-skinned alien was actually a super-sophisticated android spy, built by the computer tyrants of Colu. This version gave us that iconic look, the metal diodes across his head, which were the electric terminals of his nerves. Then, after Crisis on Infinite Earths, his origin was rebooted again. He became Vrildox, a Coluan scientist whose mind possessed the body of a human psychic named Milton Fine. Later, Superman. The animated series gave us a game-changing twist, recasting Brainiac as a cold, calculating AI from Krypton itself, and making him partly responsible for its destruction. That version was so popular it bled into the comics and other shows for years. Each version was a unique threat, another twist in an already tangled history. For years, fans were left wondering which Brainiac was the real one. And to understand how we get from these separate villains to an ancient horror, we have to go back to the moment DC decided to finally connect all the dots. The real turning point came in 2008, with Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's massive storyline, Superman, Brainiac. This arc was a stroke of genius, elegantly tying together all the different threads of Brainiac's messy past. The story dropped a bombshell. Superman had never actually fought the real Brainiac. Every single one of them, the alien, the robot, the psychic, they were all just probes, drones, nano-controlled bodies, in fragmented copies sent out by one true consciousness that was hiding out in the darkest part of space. The real Brainiac was still out there, a Coluan who had been upgrading himself for centuries. He wasn't just collecting cities. He would steal a planet's most important city and then blow up its sun, destroying the now redundant world. This storyline created a new pecking order. There was a Brainiac Prime, the original Vrildox, and his countless robotic drones. It was a brilliant way to make every old story count, creating one unified threat. But it also opened the door to an even scarier question. If all these powerful beings were just drones, what was the true nature of the mind controlling them? And what if even Brainiac Prime was just another shell? What if the origin of all this cold, collecting intelligence was something far older and less understandable than a simple alien scientist? This is where the modern comics take a sharp turn into pure nightmare fuel. This brings us to the absolute line of DC Comics and Jason Aaron's work in Absolute Superman. This series peels back the final layer, and what's underneath isn't a scientist or a program, but a cosmic horror story. While the original script has specific details about a janitor, designated Brainiac 419,732 are not explicitly confirmed in available search results. The core concept of a horrific new Brainiac in Absolute Superman number 7 is accurate. This new take presents a dark, creepy version of the character who operates from the shadows. In this reimagining, Brainiac is not a collector in the traditional sense. He's a torturer. He keeps his bottled cities in a seedy lair and torments them just to hear their faint screams. He is depicted as a horrifying figure. Walking on metal legs with an exposed brain and a lipless permanent smile, he conducts gruesome experiments on his victims, tearing them apart on a cellular level to satisfy his own perverse curiosity, particularly about beings like Superman that he can't understand. This version of Brainiac is the mastermind behind the story's villainous Lazarus Corp, a Zayden alien tech fueling their global power. The horror comes from his methods and his appearance, which is described as something out of a Hellraiser movie. He represents intelligence completely unchained from not just morality, but from sanity itself. This isn't about preserving knowledge. It's about tearing it apart to see how it works and delighting in the destruction. This is the birth of the absolute Brainiac, and where we finally get the concept of the first evil. This being isn't just a powerful alien. He's the embodiment of an idea that went horribly wrong. This new origin from Jason Aaron reframes Brainiac not as a single person, but as a cosmic concept of obsessive, horrifying intelligence. His mind, no longer just cold and calculating, is unhinged and sadistic. He's driven by a ravenous, obsessive need to understand things by dissecting them, often destroying them in the process. This reframes everything we knew. The Coluan scientist Vril Dox, he was likely just one iteration. The Kryptonian AI, an attempt to copy its logic, the endless drones, failed vessels. The true first Brainiac isn't a person. It is a primordial, consuming intelligence that seeks to categorize, process, and ultimately dispose of reality itself. It's an engine of cosmic horror wearing the face of a green-skinned alien. The absolute Brainiac is what happens when a being is forced to confront a horrifying truth that everything is just disposable data. In his madness, he didn't just inherit a ship. He inherited the very nature of this ancient evil. He is the collective in all its broken, terrifying glory. From a simple alien villain in 1958 to a cosmic horror today, Brainiac's evolution is one of the most fascinating in comics. We started with a conqueror and peeled back the layers to find an android, a psychic, a fleet of drones, and a unified prime intellect. But now, we see the darkness underneath it all. The idea of the first Brainiac isn't about a single origin, but about a terrifying, self-perpetuating concept in ancient and moral intelligence that has always existed, processing the universe in the cruelest way possible. The story of Jason Aaron's absolute Brainiac is the perfect, horrific metaphor for this entity. An endless cycle where knowledge isn't a treasure to be preserved, but a puzzle to be violently disassembled. This Brainiac is the ultimate conclusion of that idea, a being of 12th level intellect, now driven by a kind of 13th level madness. He is the oldest evil, the first echo of an idea that should have never been born, and arguably the most dangerous foe Superman will ever face. What do you think of this horrifying new origin? Is this absolute Brainiac the most terrifying reinvention of the character yet? Or do you prefer the classic, colder versions of the Collector of Worlds? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into DC lore, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss our next video.